Hey everyone. Wow, time flies. The last live session I did was back in August, if you can believe it. So it's nice to be back. For those that don't know, my name is Will, and I'm one of the co-organizers of Toronto Travel Massive and content creator behind Going Awesome Places. Awesome to see so many of you guys join us today, whether on Facebook, YouTube, or the Travel Massive platform. Thank you for joining us today. First off, I'd like to hear from you guys. Where are you guys watching from? I'm currently at home, still here in Toronto, Canada. But hit us in the chat down below and let us know where you guys are watching from today. I'll give you guys a minute. We got 17 people with us right now. Don't be shy. So where are you guys watching from? We would love to know. We'll give you guys another minute. Well, I'll jump into a few housekeeping notes first. I know you guys are going to have a lot of questions, and this is going to be super important for this live stream. After each of the panelists does their talk, we'll do a Q&A session where we'll answer your questions. So make sure to get in as many as possible, and we'll try to answer as many as we can. Now, recordings, I know this is a question that we get all the time. They'll be available on the Travel Massive platform afterwards, so don't worry if you need to drop out early, or if you missed something, or you want to rewatch again to find out what that piece of gear was or where to get it. You'll be able to rewatch this afterwards on the Travel Massive platform. All right, we haven't heard from anybody, but as you guys are watching, make sure to interact with us on the live chat, and yeah, ask questions. Anything that you want to know, make sure you drop it in there. Again, where you guys are watching from. Why don't we jump right in? Today we're kicking off what will hopefully be a helpful series of videos on tools, tips, and tricks for content creators by content creators. Today we're focusing specifically on photography and videography, but we got other ideas down the road for other sessions that we'll be doing on Travel Massive. What's really awesome here is that we've brought in amazing creators right from our Toronto community to tell us what's really up when it comes to the inside scoop on how to be a killer photographer and videographer. So let's bring in our panelists one at a time so they can introduce themselves. And first up, we have Ariane from SeeYouSoon Travel.
Hello everyone. My name is Ariane. Yes, as Will said, I'm here in the Toronto Travel Massive chapter. I am a travel videographer, photographer, and blogger. I started my website, my blog, SeeYouSoon.ca, all the way back in 2009. But you'll find the majority of my work these days on my YouTube channel, which is just my name, Ariane Parze. My background is in television production. I worked here in the Toronto television industry for a number of years before moving abroad, which kickstarted my chapter in travel blogging and now travel videography. And today I'm working with a lot of travel brands and tourism boards for content on my YouTube channel. I also do a lot of freelance video work, and I'm also one of Destination Toronto's local ambassadors. So I do Instagram takeovers for them, as well as creating video content for their social media channels.
Awesome, great to have you on. Next up, I'll bring in Yashi from ParentingToGo. Hey,
Hi,
Yashi.
everyone. Hey. So yes, I'm Yashi, based out of Toronto as well. And I dabble in many different things, but my favorite and the most active space that you'll find me at is on my blog, ParentingToGo.ca, as well as you'll find me yapping across my social media channels at Yashianthi, sharing about life with kids, condo life, and most of it does focus around travel and our culinary pursuits. So yeah.
Awesome. And we'll bring in our last panelist, Kasia from Kasia Writes and Amongst Romans. bring you in.
Hello,
Hey,
everyone.
Kasia.
How are you guys? It's a sunny day here in Toronto, so I'm enjoying it. I'm so happy to be here with you guys. And yeah, my blog is Kasia Writes, and I write about travel and from a very cultural perspective. So I love museums, I love castles, I love ruins, and those are the type of things I like to visit. So most of my stuff will be kind of focused on the cool things that you might not know about the places you visit, and little tidbits from history and why they're important. My other blog, Amongst Romans, is fairly new, and it's about my on and off relationship with Italy. So if you are looking for more Italian content, that's where I'm at. I am most active on social under Kasia Writes. That's my handle for everything, so I'm easy to find. And my background is mostly in writing. So I am a freelance writer as well, and I do a lot of writing. I'm actually finishing a book at this moment, so that'll be available shortly. And photography has always been a big part of my life. I don't consider myself a pro photographer, but I do love gadgets and I do love photography. So I'm happy to share with you some of the things I use every day to help me take photos.
Perfect. Well, thank you guys for spending your Thursday afternoon with us. Well, there's no time to waste. Let's jump right into the Blogger's Toolkit. And Kasia, we'll start with you.
Okay, so just to give you guys a perspective, I will show you what I take pictures with. So I do have a DSLR. I have a Canon 80D. It's a camera that I've had with me for a while. I'm a big Canon. I'm not a fanatic, but I prefer a Canon over other brands. That's up to you what you use. And I also take a lot of pictures and video with my iPhone. So this is the 11, which I've upgraded with, and I mainly use the 2 because the cameras are pretty, the iPhone has a pretty superior camera on it that wasn't in the past. So I often do using my phone because it's just simply easier. The camera is a bit heavier. But those are the 2 things I normally take pictures with. So the first, I'm going to share with you a number of tools that I think are must-haves, and an additional couple that I think are nice to have, but are not necessarily necessary. So the first one must have is a tripod. So I have this one. I've had it for a number of years. It's a Vanguard. What I do like about it is that you can actually detach the part that attaches to your camera. So that way I can attach it to my camera, but I can also attach it to other things as well, which makes things easier. So I'll show you that in a bit. But what I also love about the tripod is that it gives me an ability to pivot. So I can attach the camera and I can actually switch it over. So if you're looking at it, the camera doesn't always just have to stay upright. So it allows me a bit of a pivot that I can manage with my camera. So for a tripod, I would recommend getting something that's not too heavy. Like this one I've had for a number of years. If I was going to get a different one, I try to get something that's more compact. As you can see, this is the shortest it is at its folded part. Now I can extend it to be longer, but try to look for something that's not too light. Otherwise, if it's really windy, your camera might get knocked off and just fall on the ground and crack. So tripods are a lifesaver, especially if you're traveling by yourself or if you want to take pictures of you and someone else and there's no one else around. So I do that. I use this quite a bit. Now, the second must-have that I have is it's this little holder. I guess that's the technical name of it. So it's from Joby, and this one has also a tripod attachment. So what this does is I can actually put my phone in here, and of course, for some reason it's stuck. So I can put my phone in here, and I can switch it to be either horizontal or vertical. So, and if I'm not using a tripod or anything else to hold it, the phone itself will be a lot easier to operate because you can hang on to your phone without it slipping out. So that I think is a very good thing to have, and that also attaches to your tripod. Now, the third thing that I think everybody should have is a selfie stick. Now, I hate the name selfie stick, and I think a lot of people don't like them simply because of the name that they got. So a selfie stick as an actual tool is actually great. So I have a number of them. I have this one, and I have this one, which is a bit more stable. It doesn't extend. So why do you need a selfie stick? Well, like a selfie stick is actually extendable. So this one actually has a tripod component. That means I can put my phone on a tripod that is not an actual large tripod. So I can have this on my desk. I can have it, if I'm just walking around. And this enables me to get better stability. So even if you're filming yourself or something else, you can actually take the selfie stick and lean it against your body, and that creates a lot more stability. So you don't have that shakiness anymore. So I would recommend getting a tripod that a selfie stick that has either a tripod component or has some kind of feet that you can keep in place, but also get one that comes with a remote. What that allows you to do is better maneuvering with your camera, so you don't have to put on a timer and run over. So with this one, as you can see, the top also changes. So I can add the previous item that I mentioned, and I can attach it to the selfie stick. So now I have, for my phone. If I want to take this off and put it on my tripod, this will also attach to the tripod, to that part there. So see, that gives you options. But again, if you don't need a tripod, you can just get a stick, which is easier and cheaper. And I mean, there's different varieties of selfie sticks. You get whatever you feel is, works for you, but make sure that it's good quality and it offers you flexibility and different things you can do with it. So those are the main components. Now, I also recommend having an external battery power pack. Now, these are great because if you're out there all day with your phone and you're taking video and pictures, you're using a lot of the battery power. So having an external power pack that you can plug into is a great way to ensure that you don't use power just when you need it the most. So those are my 4 must-need parts. Now, there are other things that you can get, which are not a must, but maybe a nice to have, depending on what you do. So I also have a ring light. And just to show you, ring lights come in different sizes as well. This one is not too large, but this one, you can probably tell because I have a window pointing at it, but there's to give different warmth to it. So this type of a ring light is great if you're doing a lot of stuff, maybe you recording on your phone, or like right now on my laptop, I could put that on. There are different ones that come with their own tripods or equipment that you can attach to. This one actually folds out into a tripod. So if you were going to get a ring light with a tripod, you might not need to get a big one, like a big tripod separately. So ring lights, they vary. They can come from a small size like this to like a really big one, probably a lot bigger than me. It really depends on what you're using a ring light for. I would recommend looking into the function and what it has. Some of the stick components come with you able to attach your phone. So if you're recording yourself on your phone a lot, that might be a good option for you. I don't do that. So for me, I didn't need to get a ring light that I had the phone attachment. But anyway, that's about as convenient ring lights are, especially if you are in spaces that don't have a lot of light. Another piece that I sometimes use is it's a shutter release. So this actually plugs into your camera, and there is usually a space marked for it. So why do you need a shutter release? So if you're taking pictures of things like northern lights, or if you are shooting in the dark, you have to keep your shutter open for longer. So if you have your camera on your tripod, even when you press the button, that creates vibration. So automatically that can affect your image. By having this plugged in, you can do it remotely. So you basically eliminate vibration, and you can actually set it for longer. So if you have to have the shutter open for, let's say, longer than like 30 seconds or a minute or even 3 minutes, you're not actually holding the camera itself. So anyway, I just think this is a nice to have. It's not a must, because not everyone will have a use for it. You know, when it comes to taking pictures and video, it really depends on what your needs are. Do you need a DSLR? Probably not, but that depends on your needs. I have one because I like to take different types of photos. So the DSLR gives me a little bit more of flexibility. So I have different lenses that go with it. I have more control over the photos and what I want to adjust in them. The phone is great, but it's still fairly limited in what you can adjust with it. But, you know, like if you're not using the camera for huge photo shoots, maybe you don't need to spend that kind of money. My camera also has can take video. So again, do you need a DSLR with the video? That's really up to you. It really depends on what your needs are. If you think that you're just good with your phone camera, it might be enough. So again, I would say look at what do you need. Like I also have a drone and I have a GoPro. Do you need it? No, you don't need it. And do I use them as much as I use my camera or the camera on my phone? Definitely not. So again, it just really depends on what it is you're using. But the really must things I would say is, again, tripod, the holder for your phone, external battery pack, and a really good selfie stick. So I think I'll end it right here, and I'm happy to answer any questions you have, perhaps at the end of the chat, how that works.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for sharing all of those tips with us. We are going to head over to our next panelist, Yashi. Let me bring you in. Tell us what all your incredible tips. Oh, sorry, Yashi. I think you're just muted there.
Oh, sorry, I'm back.
You're good.
Thanks. Yeah, so I am going to focus on easy editing apps for photography needs. I am not a professional photographer, but I definitely love photography and I need it for my work and for my personal life. So the 4 apps that I am going to talk to you about, well, hopefully at least one of them will be new to you. I think we've all heard of Canva and we've heard of, what's the other one, that Snapseed over the years, but hopefully these will be new for you. And I know I should learn about Photoshop and about Lightroom, but I'm lazy, so this is it. So the first one I'm going to mention is Story Art. I know that it's called ArtStory on the iOS App Store, and I use this daily. It's my go-to app when I want to make collages. And whether it's for your Insta stories or if it's even for Pinterest, it's pretty easy to put a bunch of images together on this app. And they have great templates that'll be super easy for you come December, because there's a ton of travel stuff, but there's also a lot of Christmas stuff on it. And my favorite feature is the fact that we can put in video in addition to the collages and the images. So here's an example on the screen. It shows you our weekend adventures this past weekend, where we discovered a wizard shop in downtown Toronto. And instead of doing multiple stories, I was able to put it all on one story and showcase that and share it with my audience. So pretty easy. And the free version, honestly, guys, is pretty good. It'll keep you busy for a year at least. And then you can upgrade it if you want the paid apps and templates. So moving on, the next app that I'm going to show you is called Vimage. And this is the easiest way I've found to add some motion to pictures. I am sadly not a skilled videographer, much to my husband's dismay, because he has to do all the editing for our YouTube channel. But this helps me add in some fun things. One of my favorite pictures ever is this grumpy picture of my daughter. I took the image and I added some smoke to it. And to this day, I think it's my most engaged picture across my platforms. And there's other things you could do, like add leaves and to rustling trees. And a plane. We were on the beach in Niagara, and my son was complaining that we can no longer travel these days. So I made this little fun shot for him and ended up sharing it across my social channels as well. So that's an easy one too. And as you can see, it's a free app. If you do not upgrade it, there's a logo. But other than that, again, pretty easy to use, and there's plenty of features. Moving on to the third app. That one is called Photo Layers. And again, this one is available on both Android and iOS systems. And this is the easiest way I have found to merge your photos together. So pretty clear on this slide there, you can see you take a picture and you pull the foreground that you want, and then you get to pretty much slap it onto a background, and you get the final product. And I don't use this too often, but there are times where I'm at a destination and I just love the view and wish my kids would cooperate with me that day for a photo shoot, and they don't, but I'm able to then grab another image from another place with them jumping usually and put it on to this backdrop that I wanted. So that's Photo Layers for you. And for the final app, it's called PicPack, and guys, it's only available on Android as far as I know. This is for stop motion, and again, pretty easy to use. And probably my favorite feature on PicPack is the fact that you not only can group photos together to make your animation, but if you have a video, it will actually grab different images for you and put it together, and you can customize the speed of the final product as well as the duration that you want each clip to be. So you have a lot of customization that's available. So hopefully at least one of these 4 apps are new to you and that you can play with, because I've been using them throughout the lockdown, and it's been an easy way for me to share on the go.
Awesome. Thanks, Yashi. All right, next up, we have Ariane, who's going to share us some knowledge about sound and audio.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Ariane.
Hello. All right.
Take it away.
We're gonna switch over to video production, and one of the aspects of video production, which is just as important as the footage that you get, the audio quality that you record, and that is the music that you use with your videos. I find that this really will help you set the mood and the tone that you want to convey to your audience. And it can take a video from, being, a good video to like, wow, that is a really professional looking and sounding video. I often, this is me, maybe you're in the same boat as I am, but I often spend just as much time trying to find that perfect track as I do filming and editing a video. Yes, it will take me days, not gonna lie. And that's when, if you create playlists, if you create folders within your sites where you get your music from, is the best way that you can quickly save a track that appeals to you, that you like, and that maybe is not right for this video you're putting together, but maybe another video down the road. So I am going to share my screen so that I can share with you 4 different locations where I source my music from. So here we go. Just wait a second. All right. Gonna get a little inception happening here. Okay. The first one we're going to talk about is the YouTube library. This is free. This is probably the best and only source of free music that you can get on the web, unless you know a musician or you know a band. This is the best place where, if you're just getting started in videos, this is a great place to start for your music tracks if you're not at a stage yet where you want to be investing in purchasing a music license. So the audio library gets uploaded. They add tracks all the time. Like you can see, you can filter based on when it was added. The track was added, and you'll see all of these different tracks were just added. you know, they have different genres, the mood that you want to convey. This is, you know, the artists that are listed, how long the track is, and then the license type. And what you want to do is just double check the type of license that they offer. This indicates this track, no attribution is required. Some tracks will require you to put in an attribution to attribute the song within within the description of your video. So double check that when you're using, just so that you know everything is good and you're using the track as you're allowed to. Okay, so this is when you're in your YouTube channel on the left-hand side. When you're in your Creator Studio, it's right at the bottom, Audio Library, and it brings you to this page. Search across. Sorry, here we are. Search here, and they even have sound effects, which is really great. Another way to also really up your video game is to add in various sound effects. Okay, and then starred would be if you found a track, like I was mentioning, that you know, like I really like this track, not quite good for this video, star it, and then you'll have all of your stuff in here in this folder here. So this is a free option. This is free music. Okay. The next one I'm going to highlight is audiojungle.net. I used to use Audio Jungle quite a bit about 5 or 6 years ago. Their library is quite extensive. Let's see, if I were to write, you know, upbeat in music, you know, almost 300,000 tracks alone are going to come up here. And then you can filter through that. Here on the side, you can indicate if you want it to just be instrumental, if you want lead vocals, what the pacing of the track is to help you narrow down your search. And the tracks here for Audio Jungle range between, sorry, 15 to 20 US dollars per month. So it's important to note this is US dollars. And then that gives you the ability to use this track within one video, and that video then can be used on YouTube, on your social media channels when you're sharing that. Again, you can also favorite these, you can create playlists, again, so that you can put a nice list of tracks so that when you are looking for music for your next video project, you can start within your own saved playlist before doing the long, extensive search like I find I do. The next one I'm going to highlight is Epidemic Sound. I use this one very frequently. This is where I get most of my music nowadays for YouTube. What I like about Epidemic Sound is that it's based on a monthly subscription for video creators. So for 15 US dollars a month, you have access to their entire catalog, and you can use as much or as little as you want. You know, some months I might be turning out 4 or 5 videos, and other months I may only turn out 1 or maybe none, depending, you know, during COVID, things are a little slower at the moment, but they have a lot of really great tracks. A lot of big video creators use Epidemic Sound. They have, their music is broken down into categories. I have a hard time. They just changed their layout, so I'm also learning how things are working again. And moods, again, when I was telling you about moods, they have it broken down into moods. And then albums, this is the one I wanted to showcase. This is usually, they'll put together albums of their catalog of music that they have. So if you're putting together, you know, so, let's say a gaming, here we go, a gaming video for YouTube, these are some tracks that may lend themselves to that. Maybe you're doing a corporate video, so something social responsibility. So this just helps for me. I always like to go here into these albums. It helps me narrow down my search. And then again, I will create playlists. These tracks too, the license allows you to use it on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. And now they've changed this. You no longer have a limit of how many followers and views you get. So that's great. When I first joined Epidemic Sound, there was a limit of how many views per month, but they've done away with that. And if you're not sure, Epidemic Sound offers a 30-day free trial. So you can give it a go for a month, especially if you know you want to be editing a number of videos that month. By all means, try the free 30-day trial and see how that works for you. The last one I'm going to highlight is Premium Beat. PremiumBeat.com is how they watermark their tracks. Premium Beat is where I go for all my freelance projects. If I'm working with a brand, I'm working with a corporation, I like to come here to Premium Beat first. I find that the tracks are just that little bit more polished. They sound just that little bit more professional. They are a pricier option, but as a video creator, they offer you a little bit more in terms of when you're licensing a track. So if I click on this track, it will break down this track into 15, 30, and 60-second short versions of the full version. You can see this full version is 2 minutes and 40 seconds. They have different stems. So if you're really good at editing and manipulating audio, you can take the different stems within the track and layer them on as you need it. Same with their loops. Loops are about 15-second segments of the track that you can then lay out on your timeline as need be. So Premium Beat tracks are around $49, $50 US a month. So for Canadians, it's about $70 to $75 a track, which can be a bit pricey, but I find the options and the quality of their tracks are really great. You'll actually find a lot of commercials on TV are sourcing their music from Premium Beat. So let me just come back here. Stop screen sharing. Okay, now just before I wrap up the music, what I wanted to quickly show you is a tool for changing the length of a track. For probably 99% of the time, you're not going to find a track that's going to be exactly the length that you need, depending on how you edit, whether you put your music track and then edit to that music track, or if you've put all of your video footage on a timeline and now you need a track that's going to hit 2 minutes and 43 seconds or 5 minutes and 15 seconds. So I'm going to show you a trick in Adobe Audition. So again, let me share my screen. Okay, so if you have Adobe Audition, it's part of the Adobe Creator Suite. I edit my videos in Adobe Premiere Pro. So the two programs they work really well together, and I can quickly within, 5 minutes, change the length of a track. Before, I used to painstakingly go and edit in the timeline of my video and try to cut it, and it was never perfect, but I discovered this trick a few years ago, and it's fantastic. So in Audition, import a track. So I'm just going to bring in a file. Okay. And then what you need to do is create a new multi-track editor. So we'll just create, okay. And so then, this gives you different multi-tracks that you can drop on. We just need the one. So we're going to click on our track and we're going to drop it on here. Okay, I'm just going to unplug my earphones because I think it's the only way to get the audio. Okay, so we've got our track there. We can make this a little bit bigger so we can see the full track of this playlist. So right now it's coming in at 2 minutes and 37 seconds. So let's say you got a song, you got a video you've just put together that is not this long, you love this track, maybe Premium Beat, it's not quite 1 minute, it's not quite 30 seconds, maybe it's 45 seconds long. So how do we quickly change the length of this track? So over here in the effects rack under properties, click Enable Remix. It's going to analyze this music track. Go, 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 go. Okay, and now it's done its thing. I don't know what that thing is, but it's done it. Now back over here under target duration, it's showing right now it's 2 minutes and 37 seconds. But if I want to change that to 40 seconds, it's going to give or take 5 seconds based on what it chooses is the best way to edit this track. And now, if we look at this track, you'll see these little squiggly lines. That's where the edit has happened. So if I play just right around here, we'll see how it has edited this sound. Okay, pretty good. And it's fast, it's quick. This system does it for you. You don't have to try to zoom in as close as possible and cut a music track. And then when you're done with that, you can either export to Adobe Premiere Pro if you already have Premiere Pro opened, or save the file as, and then import that into your editing software. So I'm going to stop the screen share. There we go. So those are my locations where I get my music from, and that is how I will quickly change the length of a music track.
Awesome. Thanks, Ariane. Well, I guess I am the last one to go here, and something I want to talk about, and Jane asked this question earlier, I wanted to focus on microphones because when it comes to video, one of the things especially me, I severely undervalued at the beginning was audio. I mean, I thought, okay, cameras have microphones built in, I can just use that, right? But pretty soon, once you start editing videos, you start realizing that having good audio kind of makes or break your work, right? Your video. And especially once you've gone beyond montages and just music. So, quick story from my side. I've done a couple projects where I've made the mistake of not capturing audio properly. Where, let's say there was a video where the audio was just completely unusable. One, maybe because I forgot to turn on the mic. Maybe two, there was way too much background noise I didn't realize, or maybe I didn't hook in the lav properly. And so all of that meant that I've had a couple of bad stories where I just couldn't use that particular clip, and I've had to maybe fake it by shooting a voiceover or re-record it afterwards and kind of make it work in post. That's not something you want to do, especially if that's how you storyboarded your video or you had very specific shots in mind. Audio is something that you just want to make sure you get right. And having the right equipment and having the proper mental checklist is really key. So let's start off with the gear first. I'll start off with this guy here. This is the Rode VideoMic Pro. It's a bit of an older generation, but something that I still use today. And when somebody talks about a traditional shotgun mic, that's what this is. They come in all sorts of sizes. There's some really small ones that work with your smartphone, but there are also ones that work with larger cameras like mirrorless cameras or DSLRs. They fit basically on the hot shoe up here, and you screw it on, and you're good to go. This is your shotgun mic setup. This is very much what I call kind of that run and gun style of shooting, or that vlogging style, where maybe you're doing this, maybe you have a Gorilla Pod or something like that. That's where this comes in handy. It's really good. What's great about it is that, one, you don't have to mic anybody up. This is a directional mic, so it's capturing all the audio that's in front, not so much what's behind. And yeah, it's just super helpful because you got it set up and you're just recording clean audio from the start. Now you might be wondering, what is this crazy furry creature that's on here? Now this is called a dead cat, and it's an add-on that you have to get. Usually it doesn't come with it, so you do have to buy it separately, but you slip it on, and what it's for is really for wind reduction. That's something that is just really annoying when you're shooting video, especially in windy scenes. The microphone's going to capture that and really muck up what you get on video. So this helps greatly reduce wind noise. So again, dead cat, super helpful. Another thing that is good to know is that shotgun mics are typically suspended by some rubber bands in this case for this version. But they're basically there to dampen any movement or kind of harsh jarring of the camera, so it keeps the audio really clean. Again, that's why shotgun mics are really good. Now, the cons of this, all these have pros and cons. The cons of this is that, as you can tell, it's really hard to be incognito when you have a giant shotgun mic like this. I've had so many stories where I'm traveling on the road and people are like staring at it. They just can't help themselves, especially if you got a dead cat on. Yeah, it's something that attracts a lot of attention. So it's the opposite of being incognito. So another story I have is that this was something that happened to me in Egypt. I tried to, this is a smaller mirrorless camera. Let's say I thought I could just bring it in through security, but they saw that I had a mic on. They immediately assumed that I was a professional camera guy from a TV studio or something like that. So they actually confiscated this mic. So again, that kind of goes back to the idea that this is not super incognito, good for certain uses. It's just something you have to be careful with. There are some places like museums, or I'm remembering a place in Istanbul where they didn't allow microphones as well. So they had to store it away, I had to pick it up on the way out. So that is the shotgun mic. The second piece of gear I'm going to be talking about is this guy. This is the Tascam DR10L. All right, this is what's called a portable recorder. And I learned about this from my wedding photography days, and really handy because it's small, it's light, you can put it in your pocket. It connects with a lav or lavalier, a lav microphone that's clipped onto a shirt or maybe hidden in a jacket or something like that. And what I like about it is that it's something that you can easily conceal. It's easy to carry, doesn't take up a lot of space. It's not bulky at all. I've used this for a ton of projects. This is a great way to get very clean audio. We talked about the shotgun mic earlier. Sometimes you're still going to get some background noise. It is directional, but if something's happening behind the scene, you might get that as well. With a lavalier, which you'll see everyone use from TV shows, and a lot of YouTubers use this as well. They'll clip it on here, and that means that you get audio straight from your mouth. It's incredibly clean. It's probably the cleanest audio that you'll be able to get with a device like this. Now, this is perfect for scenarios like when I did a video in Tokyo. I was in a very noisy ramen shop, and I could have used a shotgun mic, but that meant that, especially with us going back and forth and talking about the food, I would have to move the camera back and forth to capture that. But basically with this, before I went into the restaurant, I hooked it on, I just recorded the entire time we were there, and I pulled out the audio bits that I needed afterwards. And another thing that happened with that particular project is that we needed two people. We had two actors in these shots. And so again, a shotgun mic just didn't really make a lot of sense for clean audio. So I had two of these guys, one for me and one for the guide that I was with. And so that was, again, incredibly helpful to have. The other thing you need to know about the Tascam is that it records everything on an SD card. All right, so that means there's no need for a complicated receiver, transceiver, or anything like that. It records it straight here. The downside of that, of course, is that this means that the audio isn't synced to your video. It's a separate track. It's on a separate card. You're gonna have to do all this in post, whether you're using Final Cut Pro or Premiere. They make it pretty easy in software, but it's still an extra step. So I'd say that's one of the cons for the DRL10. Now, the third one I want to talk about is the latest one in my collection, and this is the Rode Wireless Go, and there are actually two pieces here, okay? This is the receiver, and this is the transceiver. This was something I picked up this year. I wanted to try something new. This is kind of the in-between of the Tascam that I showed you earlier, the portable recorder and a shotgun mic. It's in between in that, like, you get really good audio from the mic. You can connect a lavalier to this, so it can work the same way as the Tascam. So I get really clean audio, but I don't have the annoyance of recording to a micro SD card, okay? So because of the receiver, and you got this jack here, it's recording straight to the video track that you're recording. So I don't need to do any sort of complicated work in post. The clean audio is already part of the video to begin with. Yeah, it's just super easy to use. It's wireless. It's got really good range. So you could be standing really far away as well, which is one of the things that shotgun mics aren't really great for. You kind of need to be right in front of the camera to capture the video, the audio. But if you're standing really far away, the shotgun mic isn't going to work so well. So overall, let's get into tips. The main thing that you need to know is that audio is not something you want to get wrong. And one of the big challenges is that oftentimes you're not going to realize you screwed up until it's too late. Usually that means that you've downloaded all the clips, you're looking at it afterwards and you realize, oh shoot, I totally screwed up. And what am I going to do now? That's when you go into problem solving mode. And as much as you can try to clean up audio, most of the times bad audio is just unrecoverable. It's really hard to fix. And so something that I've had a lot of experience with, unfortunately. So to make sure you get it right, here are a few things that you need to add to your mental checklist. I guess you can write this down as well, but these are a couple things that I think of when I'm going out on location to shoot. One, check the battery. It's usually the obvious things that you forget, especially with a Tascam. This uses a AAA battery. So I always make sure that it's fully charged the night before. I bring an extra one as well. The Rode, this guy, what's nice about this is that you can charge it by USB-C, but that means that it only has one use. As in, once you run out of battery, you can't do anything. You have to wait to charge it. So you got to make sure it's on full charge. With this guy as well, this one is an older version. It uses a 9-volt battery. Again, you want to make sure it's fully charged. It's easy to forget. And sometimes on the job, it'll just die because the battery is mostly almost out and you don't have a spare. So that leads to my second one, which is bring extra batteries. Always helpful to bring extra batteries. If a memory card is required, make sure that there's one inside. I've gone on a couple projects where I totally forgot to put one inside. And make sure that there's plenty of space inside. So this is micro SD. So make sure you double check that. Third one, very obvious, make sure it's on. Sounds very obvious, but I've gone a couple times with the shotgun mic where I forgot to turn it on the back and I thought I was recording. Same thing with the other guys. It's very easy to forget because it's a specific switch that you have to turn on. So don't make that mistake. Make sure it's on. Something that you can use to help with that is to check the levels on your camera. Most cameras are going to show you a couple bars that are moving this way that basically show you the decibels that your camera is capturing. You know your microphone's not on if you're speaking and the bars aren't moving. So I always check before I film. I do a sound check. And if I see the bars moving, then I know that I have it one plugged in correctly and that there's power. I've turned it on. All those things are in play. Another tip I have is make sure that all the settings on your microphone are set up right and you haven't accidentally changed them. There are a lot of physical buttons on guys like this. It's very easy in transportation while you're traveling for it to be knocked to a different setting. That's happened to me before. So for instance, with a shotgun mic, you might set it accidentally to plus 20 dB, which means it's recording at it's a lot more sensitive. It's recording louder audio, and that might not be what's needed in a particular scene. And you realize afterwards that all your audio clips are clipped, essentially way too loud, and it's really harsh. And so that's not a mistake that you want to make. And finally, this is something that has come to me in the past couple of shoots I've gone on, is make sure you're very aware of your surroundings. This is something that is easily forgotten when you're on location for a shoot. Don't record if there's a siren going off, right? If there's a loud truck, like a garbage truck driving by as you're doing your scene. Or maybe it's a server clanging dishes behind because they're picking up dishes and they're cleaning up. All those things are going to get picked up by your microphone. And a lot of times it's those very harsh and sudden noises or very just loud noises that make it really hard to level out the right way, or from scene to scene, it'll be very jarring to go from a loud truck to no truck, or maybe a plane is flying by and another scene is completely quiet. And so those are things that you realize once you start editing, you get into a lot of trouble. So just save yourself the trouble and just make sure you go through this mental checklist so that you get good audio. So that's my bit about microphones. I'm going to bring everyone back in. think we've got a lot of great questions today, just in terms of photography, videography. Great tips. You guys did an incredible job. Thank you so much. But why don't we get into some of the questions that we've gotten? Christina has a question. Any recommendations for cameras primarily good for video? I don't know if any of you guys want to take that one.
Well, I can just speak to what I use. I use the Sony a7R II. Now the a7S is definitely more streamlined for videographers, but I was using Canon for a while and I ended up switching to Sony because they're mirrorless, full frame, and a lot lighter than what my Canon kit was, and haven't looked back since I switched over about coming on to 5 years now. So I use that because it's great for both photography and videography because I don't want to be switching between different cameras for different purposes. And interestingly, I upgraded earlier this year to the iPhone 11 Pro. And I've been finding myself using the video camera on that phone with its own built-in stabilization for a number of stuff. Before, I'd be riding a bicycle with the selfie stick. And I'm not doing that anymore. I'm using my iPhone. So it goes back to Kasia's point about use what you've got and what's easiest for you to use. So, yep.
That's a great tip. Yeah, phones have really come a long way. And I found that I do switch between, I use a mirrorless camera as well. This is the Olympus OMD EM1 Mark III. And I'm switching between my phone. I have the same one, 11 Pro, with this camera, because realizing that, especially for shots that are really on the fly or on the go, or I need it at a very interesting angle that I really can't get to maybe with the camera and set up really quickly. All the fleeting moments, the camera does, the phone does an incredible job. I also made the switch to mirrorless not too long ago, mainly because of weight as well. Just with a lot of the travel I was doing, I needed to downsize my kit, and I needed something that was just good for photo and video. And this is kind of what I ended up landing on. And so Olympus has been really good to me. I've been really happy with that. Awesome. We got some other questions here. I'm just going to try to pull these up. We have one about drones. We have somebody asking basically in terms of apps for the DJI drones, let's say. Kasia, I know you had asked about, or you had talked about drones, kind of mentioned it. Do you use anything beyond the DJI app for your drone?
Yeah, so whenever I do videos, and again, I'm not as much of a videographer as you guys, but I combined not just the drone video, but let's say my iPhone videos. So I usually tend to do that in either Premiere Rush, or I used to do iMovie, but I found that was slightly limited. So again, it really depends. If you take everything, if you take a lot of footage with your drone and you're just mixing that, then DJI has quite a bit extensive library of apps that allow you to manipulate that footage. However, if you're combining something else, it's probably easier to get out of the DJI app and use. Again, I have access, like Adobe itself is not a cheap program. So again, if you find that you already have the drone and you use the DJI apps, that might be a better option for you instead of purchasing a separate license for the Adobe product. So again, it just basically depends on what do you use it for and how you use it. If you want to add music or if you want to add different things, you might have to switch between the programs. So that's kind of how I work. Yeah.
Awesome. And I'll say from my part, in terms of using the drone, if it's really about flying the drone, I've just stuck with the DJI app. They have a couple different ones. It gets confusing. I think it's Go, or there's another one. Anyways, all the DJI apps I think are good. I have heard other people use some third-party ones that might open up some functionality in terms of flying one of those drones. But Ariane, do you use anything else other than the DJI?
No, I use just the DJI Go app when I'm flying.
Mhm.
And then all of the footage from all of my different camera sources come into Premiere Pro for editing.
Yeah, and I use Final Cut Pro. So yeah, I think that's a good workflow there. Jane is asking, can you use these microphones, these external microphones, with a cell phone, or is it just for a DSLR? And I can touch on that. I just spoke about the microphones there. I'll pull up this kind of shotgun mic. This is one of the bigger ones. So obviously wouldn't really, I don't know, that'd be kind of weird to use a shotgun mic like that. You can certainly plug this in, but that's not what this is for. This is primarily for a DSLR. They do have a lot smaller ones. I know Rode has a mini one. I can't remember the name. I'll have to pull that up. But there are specific smaller ones that would plug into the, well, what used to be the audio jack if you still have one, or you need an adapter if you're using an iPhone. But basically, that shotgun mic, the smaller version, will work with your iPhone or Android phone. What you might have to think about is how you mount it with your phone. So I know, let's say on Amazon, there are different brackets for your phone where you can mount and clip the microphone on, because otherwise it's going to be dangling. I guess you could hold it separately, but that'll be a bit awkward. You probably want to be able to shoot your video, have a mic up here. So there are a couple of different rigs that I'm sure you could look on Amazon to find. Any of you guys have experience with using external microphones with your smartphone?
No.
Yeah, I'd say if we're talking about smartphones specifically, especially if I need something quickly on the fly, I'll just use the built-in mic, and I found that to be pretty good. It sounds like that's the case for a lot of you guys. The microphone's been pretty good for you guys.
Oh, Kasia, you're muted.
There we go. I have a small lapel mic that I use, and I found that it worked with the old iPhone. So because of the new iPhones, they have the flat thing. So I had to get an extension to basically plug that into it. But I don't use it too often, except when I really am in a very loud area, because the iPhone is pretty decent with the actual microphone, but I do have one just in case.
Yeah, so you're
Again, do you need it? No.
Like a lav like that, right? With this plug.
Yeah.
So you just plug it into your phone, whether you need an adapter or not, and a lapel pin kind of goes up there. Yeah, that works. Yeah. That works. Andrea makes a good point. The rig that you're looking for is one that has a cold shoe mount. So if you look at the camera up here, that's that cold shoe mount. So you'll have kind of a rig that works with your phone with that mount, so that, yes, you could go a little crazy and put a really large shotgun mic, or you could find a different one out in the market that's a little bit smaller. We have another question. Are you photographing and video, like shooting video separately, or pulling frames from HD video only? That's a really great question. So what I think she means is that for photography, are you pulling screenshots from your video and using that as your photo in certain cases, or you doing that separately? How do you guys do that?
I have done that with the drone. So sometimes if it was a really good shot on the drone, like when it was flying, obviously you can't take that. So if it was during the flight, I would sometimes pause the screen and take a shot of that, but I tend not to do screenshots.
So in my case, if I'm shooting a video, I can click, usually I'm shooting video off my phone, I should mention that. I can snap a photo immediately, and I find that built-in feature on my phone gives a better picture than a screen grab. The only time I use a screen grab is on that PicPack app that I spoke about when making motion videos and trying to grab different frames from a video.
Yeah, that's similar to what my experience has been. In cases for some YouTube videos, if I forgot, let's say, to record or take a photo specifically for the thumbnail for YouTube, I might go to video and grab a screenshot if I'm looking for kind of a natural reaction that occurred in the video, and I'll use that. Yashi, your point is true as well in terms of taking video on this guy. You can snap a photo almost as you're shooting the video, and that's kind of a neat feature. Awesome. Al has a question. He asked, for Epidemic Sound and other subscription-based music, how do you feel if you cannot continue with their respective subscription and you already have these licensed music on your older videos? Do you know what the rules are? Like, are you still allowed to have that music if you don't have that subscription anymore? That's a really great question. I use Epidemic Sound as well.
Yes, and this has come up with some other video creators, mainly if they were part of an MCU, so multi-channel. I don't even know what the U stands for. But basically, it would be like if a company was helping you get higher ad revenues, you would then, part of the perks would be you'd get a music subscription service that you could use. And in the past, some creators have found when they've left that MCU, that then they're getting dinged for having those licensed tracks on their videos. That's changed now. I know, especially for Epidemic Sound, as long as you use that track and uploaded it to your YouTube channel while you are still subscribed, you can leave the music on those videos for their entire lifetime. What you can't do is you can't download a bunch of tracks in 30 days and then 6 months from now upload a video with one of those tracks. You'll get dinged that way. But if you've licensed the track and or if you're part of a subscription service and you uploaded the video while you were a member of that service, then you are fine to use that track at that time.
Okay, that's good to know. That's really helpful.
Yeah.
I actually have a question for lighting, Kasia. How does when you're shooting, do you use multiple lights, or is it just usually the one ring light that you shoot kind of in front of you, or do you have a multi-light setup?
It really depends on what I'm doing. Like as I said, I do have the big setup with, the big lights and umbrellas and whatnot. But again, that is a huge production. So I don't necessarily need to do that. If I'm outside, again, I try to film with the right lighting. You don't necessarily need a lot of stuff outside unless you're doing like professional photo shoots, which I don't do. So again, depends where you are. You try to always be, don't take pictures with the sun behind you and you try to take a picture of yourself, which again, you're going to be in the shadows. So just try to position yourself and see where you are. Because I mean, you can't just carry the ring light with you everywhere necessarily unless you're going to a specific thing. So what I try to do is I try to just take advantage of the natural light. But now even the iPhone allows you to use a flash. So if you're recording something, like if you're doing like a self-facing camera, so that might do. So again, it just depends on where I am. I tend not to do like really dark, night shoots where I require lighting. So I try to stay away from that. But again, it really depends what you're doing and where you're going and how much stuff you want to bring with you. Because the kit for the setup of the whole background with the backdrop and the umbrellas and the lights, it's quite a big bag and it's quite heavy. So I wouldn't be bringing that with me unless I was going somewhere. Like I was doing, a friend of mine was having a baby shower. So they had their own backdrop and then I brought extra lights with me, but I didn't need to use them because the lighting was sufficient in this space. So it really just depends on your needs. I try to avoid carrying, if I don't have to carry it, I try not to, because my camera is pretty heavy to begin with. And I try to just basically avoid any extra weight.
That's a good call. Yeah. I'm the same as well. Yashi, I got a question for you. I saw the really cool time-lapse shot that you did with your husband. Do you have any tips of like what's the best way to like plan that? Like, do you just move really slowly or do you just kind of act naturally or?
Yeah. So first of all, you need a tripod. Because especially what I showed you was just one clip, but eventually in the next month, you will see something cooler coming out of that shoot. But you need a tripod, just film it regularly. So we just did a cheers and that was it. My husband only has this much time for me when I need him in a photo shoot. So There's no multiple takes. But that app just quickly grabbed different shots, and I was able to pick the ones I wanted and stitch them together. Yeah, pretty easy.
Awesome. Yeah, it's something I'll have to try for sure. We got maybe time for just one more question. This is kind of a follow-up to our talk about microphones with the camera or with your phone. I guess I'll touch on both. Aaron, you're asking about mounting an LED on your camera and use shotgun mic off the camera. So basically, how do you have like two devices on your camera? And maybe Ariane, I'll let you answer this one first. I'll kind of bring my thoughts. Like, how do you handle with scenarios where you're shooting this, but you need an LED and a microphone?
Yeah, no, it's a good question. I wish I had all my gear with me. I don't. What I do have, it's basically a hot shoe extender. So it's a piece of metal that would fit onto the hot shoe of your camera, and that piece of metal then is like an extender of that hot shoe. So then you can mount a shotgun mic, you can have then a lav mic, you can have your lighting source. So it just looks like this really cool contraption, but it's all being housed on your own camera. Yeah, that's what I use. That's how everybody else does it too. Yeah.
Yeah, it's especially if you want it all on your camera.
Yeah,
I think that's the only way to go. And that doohickey that sits on the hot shoe, whatever it's called, I'm pretty sure you can find it on Amazon. I picked one up. Yeah. It basically takes one hot shoe mount and it creates two, one side here, one side there, and that's what allows you to mount this on one side and this on the other.
And the one that I have, it's just a full bar, so you can. And then you can move it anywhere along there, depending if you want your light source in the middle, if you want it off to the side, you want your shotgun mic right in front. So yeah. There's so many options. Yeah.
Super handy to have. It does make things heavy, I will say that.
Yes. A tripod.
Well, I think we're just a little bit over an hour. So I'm going to call it a wrap. First of all, thank you to this amazing panel. You guys did an incredible job sharing all of your knowledge. I love that this chat was really about bringing, amazing creators from our community to be able to talk about the things that they're really amazing at. So first of all, thank you guys. You guys rock for being here. And for everyone else watching, I got to say that thank you for being with us this whole time. I know we had a bit of a glitch at the beginning with the Travel Massive page. We got that running and we're all good to go afterwards. If you guys are joining us on Facebook and YouTube, thanks for sticking with us this entire hour. If you want to rewatch any of this, because I know that we talked about a bunch of different gear, from ring lights, tripods, microphones, apps, to different places where you can grab music. You can rewatch this afterwards. We'll be posting a replay on the Travel Massive event page, so look out for it there. And before you guys go, make sure you reach out to us if you have any topics that you'd love for us to cover. Are there certain topics that you'd love to talk about and be part of a future panel? Don't be shy, just email us and we'll get back to you. And again, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time. Take care, guys.
Bye.